What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another MMA superstar. This time we get to talk to the 2020 MMA Coach of the Year on MMA Junkie, Eric Nicksick, also the GM of the 2021 Gym of the Year on MMA Junkie. What's up, Big E? How are you?
What's up, guys? Man, it's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So you're on the other side of the pond, jolly old England. I heard they're going through a pretty brutal heat wave. Now, obviously, we're in Vegas, so we kind of laugh those off. But no, seriously, like I heard, it's like they don't ever get that hot over there.
Yeah, they said today that it's the hottest recorded day in London history. I was like, yeah, of course it is. You can't get away from it, man.
Is it humid too, or what's the climate like over there?
It's not too humid, but we are on the water, like we're on the wharf. But there's not a lot of humidity. But I mean, man, our heat doesn't compare to this heat at all. Like I was like, yeah, it's kind of hot, but it ain't like our hot, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
All right, Eric. First, before we get started, I did want to ask you the highs and lows of MMA. You know, a few weeks ago, Stamen gets his hand raised. Strickland had a rough night. This past Saturday, Misha had a rough night, but Puna had a great fight, a great finish, everything. What do you take with you more at the end of the night? Like when you're picking up that gym bag, zipping it up, do the sorrows affect you more than the happiness, or are you right down the middle? How do you even feel after nights like that?
Man, I'd be lying to you if I said that like it's the loss is way heavier on me, and I'm a big perfectionist, so I think that I start to dwell on what we could have done better and how we could have performed better or how we could have pulled out a victory. Although I was elated for Puna and then even more so with him getting the bonus and the finish and all those things. But, I think my mind always kind of resonates to the loss and what we could have done better on our end as a staff for Misha, especially for somebody that I really care about too. Like she's like my sister. So the loss is usually way a little bit heavier on me.
Yeah, because, in team sports, you all lose together, you all win together. And so, that question would be kind of silly. Obviously, if you lose, all right, that sucked, but we get a chance to pick it up tomorrow, next week, whatever the sport is. MMA is different. That fighter can't fight for a few more months or weeks in the case of Chris Curtis, who we'll get to in just a second. But, and then there's another one that's like, oh, man, like they're on top of the world. So that's what I was wondering, I guess, was just like how that can tug at your emotions a little bit. I would almost imagine like you have a pair of twins and one of them won their swim meet and the other one lost, in the volleyball tournament or something like that. What do you do? Which one do you hug?
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed hanging out with Puna, and obviously we made the funny video, and we got to you want to spend that time with him too, because it is equally as important. But while you're there, I'm still, on the phone because Misha and Johnny had to go to the hospital, and you're checking in with your fighter and making sure she's okay, and checking on the kids and everything else. Because I mean, that's part of your role too. And just because the fight's over doesn't mean like your job's done. But it certainly sits a little bit heavier when there's a loss involved in the fight week.
Right. All right. So we were joking about Chris Curtis, but in reality, that's what he's doing. And I think this is the second time he's done this in the UFC. So far, he's batting 1,000. And so in this instance, he's going to step in and fight Joker Hermanson because Darren Till's out. And I wanted to ask you, how much discussion goes into that decision? I think back to, I think it was UFC 151, the infamous Henderson can't go, so Chael's going to step in for Henderson to fight John Jones, which you would think John Jones, greatest fighter on the planet for the last 10 years, would just kind of go, come one, come all, right? But Greg Jackson actually pulled him from the fight. So there had to have been some discussion there. How does your team address something like this?
Same, and we get on the phone with management. It was myself, Chris, and then Jason House and Lance, his other manager, and then Nate, whoever's involved. And really it was just kind of a matter of schematics. It was just like, hey, are you available? Can you make it? What do you think about the matchup? What would you game plan against? And inherently being able to have the information that I had when we game planned with Sean Strickland, obviously very different fighters, but Strickland had just fought him recently. And so, I know Jack, and I know kind of what we look to attack and what we try to do. The game plans would be very different because of skill set, but at least you have an idea of what you're dealing with. So that was important. And then, just making sure that everybody can get out here. The only time I didn't get a corner Chris was actually when I was with you guys on the military tour. So, and I already had a prior commitment, and I wasn't gonna back out on that. So Chris and I were always very, very we communicate a lot when it came to that, because I knew how hard it was for me not to be there with him. So if I was able to make it, and really I had a trip planned to Coronado, and it was kind of up to my wife. And good thing my wife loves Chris, and she's like, yeah, you got to go, because he's gonna be really upset if you couldn't make it. So it was really my wife's call.
Yeah, well, they run the show. And I can honestly back Eric up. Eric was pretty emotional at the base. I remember when Chris won, I think we were all lined up, and that's when we were doing the autograph signing, and you kind of stepped away, but you were fired up. And hopefully Chris sees this, because I'm not kidding. You were almost as fired up as I've seen you when you're really in a corner. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, I was so happy for my guy. And just seeing everything that he's been through in the last couple of years. I mean, his entire career, but really in that time frame, it was really a matter of months. But from when he went from wanting to hang it up and move on with his life versus getting into the UFC on this short notice venture. So I couldn't have been happier for him at the moment. Yes, of course, I would have loved to be there, but I also love to be there with you guys and doing our work with the military. So it was equally as of a nice trip for me.
Yeah, Eric, I've been saying Chris is like he's playing with house money. He's doing great at middleweight. 4 wins against legit middleweights. Not even like, oh yeah, this guy, he just barely came through one of the regionals. No, established fighters. He's doing well, and this is the guy that retired a few times, like 3 times in the last 2 or 3 years, because he just thought it was done. But instead, he picked himself up, and he's done what he's done. He could be going 5-0 as a middleweight. Is that type of fighter just the most dangerous fighter when they know, my real weight class awaits me when I'm ready for it, with proper long camps to prepare? Right now, it's like he's just slinging them. It's almost like the dude that goes to the club, asks the girl to dance, and then this girl says, yeah, this one wants to have a drink. He's going on with like 5 or 6 numbers. It's just his night, you know what I mean? Because I think he's got like a swag in his step.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean, it is, man. It's all the difference that it makes. I think when you start to get that confidence in the way it is in MMA, Chris, I joke around with Chris all the time. He's like Eeyore sometimes when he comes in the gym, just moping around and all this shit. And now you see a big difference in his change his personality, especially in the room. Just Dennis and I were talking about tonight, where Chris is taking a leadership role. He feels more comfortable in his own skin. So like if he has something to address to the team or say something, he's not sitting in the back when we call it in. He's the guy up in the front, and he's the guy saying, hey, make sure you have your tape, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. So I think with that confidence comes the leadership and everything else that's really been falling in place for him. So, but he's definitely playing some house money, man. That's the best part about being in Vegas, man. We got nothing to lose, so we're out here just slanging them.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I can attest to that too. I was at the amateur tryouts for Xtreme Couture a few weekends ago, and Chris looked like he was part of the panel. He had a sheet, with some pen, and he was taking some notes. Then he was going in there just to kind of, I think what he did, at first I thought, is he kind of showing off here or something? But then I noticed what he was doing. It's the guys that were lined up. It was giving them an extra blow, because basically it was just a fighter that could give them a look, and at the same time it would slow the line down. But I thought that was awesome, man. He was motivating them, and that's just like not even the Chris that I met like 5 years ago at Dana White Contender Series. It's a whole new guy that you guys have created there at Xtreme Couture. You guys should be proud, man.
I'm very proud of him, absolutely. And I think it is just that. A lot of times too, George, it's just getting around like-minded individuals or people that can help you change your mindset to the positive. And very much I felt like Chris was kind of down on his luck, but that was that's kind of the name of the game for him. It's like, oh, poor me and oh this and oh that. Well, hey man, we can make our own luck here. We can start doubling down on some things and getting better in certain areas, and let's focus on the things that we can improve. And I think it's going to translate better for you in the cage. And I think for the years that he's been working on his wrestling and his wrestling defense, we got to show that in the last fight when he stuffed 20 takedowns. Obviously, Jack Hermansson's a much different style opponent, but coming in with the confidence that he has, I think a confident man is a dangerous fighter, and that's what we have in Chris.
One last question here, Eric. I was going to turn it over to Goes here, but it was on my mind. Years ago, I think it was Team Jackson. Jokingly, people used to call them Team Rehab. Nothing to do with drugs or alcohol or anything like that. I really mean this as a well-intentioned question. But basically, it was people that were maybe just down on their luck, similar to, I guess, Chris, whether they had just taken a couple L's or maybe the team was disbanding. I don't know, but jokingly, it was referred to that. But Jackson and Wink were doing a good job of kind of like revitalizing careers, re-energizing careers. And so it was kind of meant as a compliment. And I wanted to ask you guys have kind of done that a little bit. I mean, Strickland hasn't taken too many L's, but honestly, he's just kind of like, not necessarily, like he's gone to another level with Xtreme Couture, it appears to me. And now we're talking about Chris Curtis, and I'm wondering, your gym often gets called a gym that has the doors open for fighters that want to come in, but do you guys embrace something like that where, hey, we can turn your career around over here, veterans? Like, would you want the word to get out about something like that?
Yeah, I think as long as they fit the style and the continuity and the standard that we have at Xtreme Couture, I'm very excited about working with a guy like Cody Garbrandt. And here's a guy who comes from a great gym already in Team Alpha Male. He had a great run there. But really, it was his life, his personal life had moved him to Vegas, so he needed a reset. He needed to do something different. So now he trains at Xtreme Couture full time. So I'm able to kind of piggyback on all the great things that he's done at Alpha Male, but try to give him some new tools and some new approach and some new nuances to his game that hopefully we can improve on. So he's a guy that I've been super excited about. I've always loved Cody. He's been a friend of mine for years, but now having him full time at the gym, I'm really excited about that.
How long does it take for a fighter like that to be embraced by the team, and likewise for them to embrace the team and the work ethic?
I think it's kind of a lot can be just on the fighter alone and how willing are they to put themselves out there. I've had fighters in the past who come to Xtreme Couture and they don't really want to partake in a lot of team activities or be at team practice or do those things. And a lot of ways they kind of ostracize themselves from the team, and it doesn't really fit. And that's okay. Some fighters prefer to have more of an individual, like a boxing style camp. But I feel personally, and I'm sure you guys would agree, you're in the gym a ton, that I think what makes us successful is the people that we have surrounding us, and the team that we have behind us. Dennis and I were talking about that today. It's like, I think we do a great job of sharing each other's passion, our goals, our projects. And, when you look at our stories on our Instagram, we're promoting each other. We're pushing for one another. We're each other's biggest fans. And I think having that support system is very important when you talk about a high level gym and a gym that's very big. We have a lot of fighters at our gym, so everybody feels like they're getting taken care of.
Eric, in our sport, we're saying goodbye to a lot of these names that we've seen for a while now, a lot of retirements in the last couple of months. What do you think for a fighter? Do you think it's better for them to go into the fight saying, this is going to be my last one, or one that just decides based on the performance? Because we've seen a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's a good question, Goes. And I think it kind of depends. Like, I remember, when Martin Kampman retired, it was more because of the concussions, and he didn't really have a choice, and that stung because he didn't get to go out on his own terms, whereas like, Misha, if she decides that she's going to hang it up, I'm not saying she is, but if this is something that she decides to do, I know that she's going to be confident or content with her last fight and her career. She's okay with that. So if she goes out, it's kind of on her own terms. Who was it recently? Cowboy Cerrone and Jessica Ai, they all retired, and it feels like for them, they kind of had their mind made up on a loss, right? Hey, if I'm going to lose this fight, there's a good chance I'm going to retire. And that's fine too. I think for everybody's career is going to be different. And like for Misha, for example, man, she put a lot of time and energy and effort into making this weight class. And I cannot imagine how difficult it must have been on her and her family to spend day in, day out. And remember, this fight was signed a while back. I mean, we were supposed to fight, I think, in May. And she went on Big Brother and did the show. So then it got pushed back. So this fight and this weight class has been on her mind for a long, long time. And the prep work leading up to that had to be exhausting for her. So inherently, I understand, like, when the fight's over and she lost the fight, it's like, oh, shit, I don't know if I ever want to do this again, right? So that's the thing when it comes to me as a coach, like, all right, take some time, relax, sit on it for a little while, and then we'll go back and regroup. But, you know, I think I've seen all of those kind of situations now being in the sport for a long time goes where, you know, sometimes it's an injury, sometimes it's this, and sometimes it's that. But I think I prefer when a guy gets to go out on their own terms.
You know, a move like that in weight classes, everything is so dialed in, you know, the dates, what you're eating, what you're doing. To have that fight be pushed back just a little bit, how difficult was that for her? Because I have to imagine she's a very structured person. And on top of that, this being a new weight class, do you feel like that maybe weighed on her a little bit in this fight?
No, I don't know. Like, I don't want to come up with, make any excuses for her. I know that it was about a day or two she was pretty bummed out. And, you know, I had a good talk with Mick Maynard about it. She wanted to salvage the July 2nd card and stay on there for a lot of reasons, moreover because of the travel and her with her children. And then when I talked to Mick, I'm like, Mick, is there anybody that's even going to be available to fight her on this short of a notice? And the answer was no. Really, all he could do was move it and save the opponent for a different date. And it was the way I think we had to spin it to her. It was like, look, it is what it is. And we can sit around and mope about it, or we can make the best out of the situation. And she actually ended up getting sick. She ended up getting a little bit of a flu. So it actually worked out in our favor because, in a sense, she got a little time off and was able to get over that flu. You know, her body was going through all kinds of hormonal imbalances because of the weight cut. I think that helped reset her. So looking back at it in the long run, I think having a little time off for her actually was beneficial more than it was a hindrance.
I do want to ask you about the big man, the champ. If you look at his progression, do you feel like he's on track, ahead of schedule, or being a little bit more cautious?
I think he's either ahead of schedule or on track, one or the other. And then from what I've gathered from Heather and Tara over the PI, that he's making great strides. And you know, he's back in the gym, moving around, hitting pads and doing stuff. And that's the biggest thing for me, I think, as a coach is what I miss out on is time of growing, areas that we can improve on. That's where I get like, oh man, we're not doing enough of X, Y, and Z. So, and I'm okay with that. We don't have a fight lined up or anything right now. His main focus is getting his knee rehab to the point where we can get back in the lab and start doing these things again. So hopefully, and it sounds like for what he's saying that, you know, if something were to happen, it would be the end of the year or early in 2023.
Two more questions, Big E. All right, so the first one is, can you talk about Coach Nate Pettit? I've seen this guy a lot over the years, but he seems like a quiet guy, and we've probably to our fault, we've never interviewed him just to find out more about him. We've interviewed Jake, we've interviewed Dennis, and of course you and a few of the other guys, but never him. Why don't you talk about him? Because I think this guy had a lot to do with Chris's resurgence. Chris gave him a couple shout outs. He's talked about it in interviews, you know, that I've heard with us and others. And then I saw him in Puna's corner. I mean, he seems to be like, you know, one of the guys that's like a key ingredient here.
No, absolutely. So, you know, Nate's a guy that's been a part of the Xtreme Couture for quite a while now, man. He's been a very integral part of the gym and the team. And, you know, he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He's kind of the silent guy, and he kind of does this thing on the side. But he's put so much time and effort into Puna, Chris Curtis, Taylor Gordato. He's working with Jocelyn Edwards. You know, there's a ton of heavyweight guys that he comes in to work with. He works with Bogoy. And I think that by design. Nate's just kind of a quiet guy and keeps to himself. But, you know, he's from the Pat Miletich lineage. He's just an old school hammer. And to be quite fair, man, this guy has helped revolutionize a lot of our fighters in the gym. Francis included. I'll send him into Nate's wrestling practices. So Nate's been a very key ingredient into our success. And I think it's about time that he gets those accolades, man, because he's a road warrior. The guy's out on the road traveling and helping and doing everything that he can. And he's not married, doesn't have kids, so he loves his job and he loves what he's able to do. But you're absolutely right, George. He's been a very key ingredient to the success of Xtreme Couture.
I always thought he was a Muay Thai guy because he always has the Muay Thai type shorts on. But it definitely appears that he comes from wrestling, and he's had a big hand in that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. That's all he wears, man, is Muay Thai shorts and bedazzled jeans. He's got these monarchy jeans on. Like, bro, I gotta help this dude and get him a different wardrobe.
All right, last one. We kind of talked about this, but I think it was such a great answer. I wanted to share it with our audience, and that's, I don't even know if I told you where it stemmed from, but everybody's always talking about evolving and getting better and things like that. But another thing that comes up with refs is, should a ref judge a fight the same way, whether it's a high stakes title fight on a pay-per-view or the first fight of the night? Because after all, the health is just as important of this superstar as it is this young up-and-comer. But at the same time, I think we've seen, all of us have played team sports here, and we know that the refs are reluctant to call fouls at the end. They let the players decide them. So it's like they have a longer leash, we call it, right? And
Right.
So I wanted to apply that to everyone else. And I thought, well, heck, you're so open with us and we appreciate it. And I wanted to ask you, you had done some interviews with us and others, and you said that when it came time for Francis's fight, you were going to bed basically watching, trying to pick up something every night, to help him win the title. And I wanted to know, is that something you apply and spread out through your whole team as well, like that passion that you had for that particular fight?
Yes, 100%. And I think that, you can find the time, especially when it comes to guys and girls' careers. You're going to find the time to look for the little things, look for the little nuances. Sometimes, man, it's even the day of the fight. Like I remember Kevin Lee and myself and Dewey, before we got on the shuttle to go fight Edson Barboza, Kevin points it out. We watched it. I can't tell you how many times we watched this tape. And Kevin goes, "Hey, did you guys pick up that Edson like clacks his hands every time together before he throws a left kick?" We're like, "No, like go back." And we watched it again, and it was a hand mechanism or like a tick. And Edson would do it, and he would throw a kick. And I go back to another fight. Go put that fight on. We put that fight on. All of a sudden, you see him do this and throws the kick. All right, go put on another one. We did it again. And all of a sudden, you started to see this pattern kind of ring true. So I go, all right, when we get in the fight, let's see if you can get him to do that. Or let's see if he'll show us that. And sure as shit. And then the kick came. And Kevin went and ran it and took it down. So literally all the way up until the moment we left to the hotel, for the venue, we were watching tape and looking for something that we could pick up on. And sure as shit, it happened.
That's nuts, man. That must feel like a detective finding a clue that leads to solving a murder or something, like, because that's what you guys are doing. You're solving puzzles. So anywhere along the line, you always hear about these detectives that'll go back and say, hold on, let me look at the file or whatever. And here you guys are on a shuttle on the way to the arena picking up clues all the way through. That's a great story.
Anytime we can, man. You gotta exhaust all your options, right?
Yeah. All right, my man. Well, listen, I know it's late over there, and I know your body's probably not even done equalizing after the busy couple weekends that you've had, so we'll let you go. But thanks as always for connecting with us. Good luck to you and the rest of the team.
Hold on.
Okay. All right. What you got?
Hold on. Send you guys over here real quick. Only because you're my boys.
All right.
Hold on here. Say hi.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
I like
George
it.
and Ghost, hey, what's up?
What's up, Chris? How are you?
What's up? Just sweating. What's going on?
Man, you're a gangster. Taking fights on late notice, man, but good luck because you've been doing well.
I like money. Thank you.